Welcome to Zeph's house. Come in out of the dark and pull the door shut behind you. Tonight's tale is called Welfare Check. I have spent my whole life learning to tell the difference between an animal that's dangerous and an animal that's suffering. It's not as easy as you'd think. They look the same from a distance, the bared teeth, the wild eye, the body coiled to move. You learn to read the small things, whether it's hunting you or just trying to get away from its own pain. The morning we drove out to Wayne Coulter's place, I had to learn to read that difference in a man, because by then I understood that the thing poisoning my county wasn't a monster out in the dark. It was a delivery system, and it had a face and a name and a kitchen with 3 unwashed coffee mugs in it. Caldwell drove like a woman who'd made a decision she couldn't take back. Larson followed 2 car lengths behind, close enough to help, far enough to pretend it was routine. The address had been sitting in her file for over a week. Wayne Coulter, attached to a 2004 Ford F-250 that kept turning up on roads it had no business being on, at hours nobody should be driving, with mud on the plate and dirt in the bed, and perfect lane discipline at 1 in the morning. We hadn't gone because Caldwell didn't have cause, not the legal kind, not the kind that survives a county attorney asking why you knocked on a taxpayer's door over soil color and dead deer. But that was before she found the wrong dirt in the mulch bed against her own building. Welfare check, she'd said that morning. Flat, final. The way you name a thing so it has a shape you can carry. It wasn't a warrant. It was a woman walking up to a door because nobody else would. Coulter's place told its story before we were out of the truck. White clapboard gone the gray of paint that had given up. A porch sagging on one side, a barn behind it patched with 2 colors of tin, a chicken coop with no chickens, a garden gone to weed with a few tomato cages still standing like soldiers who hadn't heard the war was over. Not abandoned, not kept. The word that came to me was endured. And the Ford in the side yard, tailgate up, the bed lined with a dark film I'd been chasing for weeks. Soil that clung to metal like it didn't want to let go. Caldwell sat a moment reading it. He lives alone, she said. No second vehicle, no toys, no dog bowl. The specific emptiness of a man with no one to clean up for. She knocked 3 firm hits, and from inside came a sound that wasn't quite footsteps, more like someone remembering how to stand up. Wayne Coulter looked like a man who'd been poured out and put back wrong. 50, maybe, though exhaustion adds years the way weather adds into a fence post. Thin, not sick thin, depleted, like a battery drained below the level it can come back from. Brown hair going gray, blue eyes with that watery distance you see in people who aren't sleeping. His flannel was buttoned one off so the whole front of him hung crooked. Jeans, socks, no shoes, and the socks were dirty on the soles. Caldwell gave him her name and the line she'd practiced. Reports of vehicles on the back roads after dark, just checking on folks in the area. Coulter processed it slowly, like the words had farther to travel than they should. I don't drive much at night, he said. And he wasn't lying. That was a thing I kept coming back to. He believed it. He let us in without the energy to wonder why he shouldn't. The house smelled like old coffee and sleep that hadn't lasted. A muted morning show. 3 mugs, none washed. Toast going stale. Not filthy, not hoarded, just unattended. The house of a man present during the day and absent from his own life. I found the wrong thing before Caldwell did. The hallway carpet running from the living room to the back door was tracked with dirt. Not a set of prints, layers, prints on prints, ground in so deep the carpet had changed color. A trail worn from the back door through the hall and out walked so many times the fibers had given up being anything else. I looked at Coulter's socked feet, clean on top, dark on the soles. He caught me looking and stared down at his own feet like he was seeing them for the first time. "I need to vacuum," he said, embarrassed, distant, the way you apologize for something you don't understand. Caldwell made the small talk that's really a search. Lived here his whole life, had a wife once, did odd jobs, fencing, hauling fill for landscapers. He answered everything, polite, not evasive, just foggy. The way you talk when the details of your own life don't quite stick. "You sleeping all right?" she asked, like it was on the checklist. His mouth opened, closed. He rubbed his face with both hands. "Not great," he admitted. "I wake up tired, like I've been doing something all night." Larson went still by the door. "Doing what?" Caldwell asked, soft. And Coulter shook his head, and the fear came up in him, real and quiet. "That's the thing. I don't know. I go to bed, I wake up, and I feel like I ran 10 miles in my sleep." Then he held up his hands and turned them over. The dirt was under his nails, not surface dirt, packed deep under the nail beds, into the cuticles, ground into the creases of his knuckles. The grime you get from working wet soil with your bare hands for hours. "I can't get my hands clean," he said, almost to himself. "I scrub them every morning. Every time I wake up, they're just covered again." He wasn't covering. He wasn't lying. He was confused, deeply, genuinely confused by what his own body was doing when he wasn't there to steer it. Caldwell asked to use the bathroom. He was a move. She wanted the hallway, the back door. While she was gone, I sat with him and did what I do. I asked, gentle, where he got his fill. He frowned, reaching for it. Different places. There's a spot out past, and his eyes went unfocused, like a man looking for a file in a cabinet that kept rearranging itself. "I don't remember exactly," he said finally, and I watched it cost him, the flash of terror that comes when your own memory has holes and you can't say why. Caldwell came back and didn't look at me. She didn't need to. I read the answer in her jaw. She walked us around the side of the house and showed me what she'd seen from the bathroom window. The back step was caked in dried, dark mud, built up over many nights of boots going out and coming back. And beside the door sat the boots themselves. Laced, tied tight, the tongue folded just right, the way you tie boots when you're going to work, not the way you leave them when you kick them off before bed. "He ties them in his sleep," Larson said, and his voice had gone thin. Caldwell crouched without touching them. "He doesn't just walk out there," she said. "He gets up, he gets dressed, he ties his boots, he drives that truck to the seam, and he loads dirt with his bare hands, and he delivers it, and he comes home, and he takes his boots off, and he goes back to bed." She stood, and he doesn't remember a second of it. The Ford told the rest. Not one load's worth of dirt in the bed. Layer on layer, scraped out by hand and reloaded and scraped again, the metal stained where the soil had sat longest. This had been happening a long time. A palm width of dried blood on the tailgate from a hand caught on an edge that kept working because the work mattered more than the wound. Except Coulter didn't know about the work. Dark mud ground into the driver's seat, into the grooves of the steering wheel where fingers grip, caked on the floor mats. Every night, a man climbing into this truck, driving with no headlights to the wrong ground, loading it by hand, carrying it to backyards and schoolyards and the sheriff's own foundation, and every morning waking up tired and scrubbing his hands and unable to understand why the dirt kept coming back. "So we arrest him," Larson said. It came out a question. Caldwell shook her head slowly. "For what?" "Trespassing, illegal dumping, driving without lights. and his lawyer asks why it matters, and we say the dirt is wrong, and the lab says it's normal, and the judge asks what law a man broke delivering landscape fill to people who wanted landscape fill. He's doing it in his sleep, Larson said. Try putting that in an affidavit. I stared at the bed full of dark soil, and I said the thing I'd been arriving at since the door opened. He's not the enemy. He's a delivery system. The soil's using him, his body, his truck, his knowledge of these roads. It sends him where it wants to go, and in the morning, he doesn't know he went. Then how do we stop it? Caldwell's eyes were hard. I don't know. But arresting a sleepwalker doesn't cure the sleepwalking. It just makes you responsible for him. We stood in that side yard and didn't leave. Because leaving meant accepting that we'd found the carrier, met him, looked him in the eye, and had nothing we could do. He showed us his hands, Caldwell said quietly, like he was asking for help. Larson kicked a rock down the gravel. So we just leave him here, knowing he goes out again tonight. He's gone out every night we've known about the truck, she said. It's not what he delivers tonight that I can't fix, Larson shot back. It's that we watched him. That one landed. I saw it land. We could watch him, I said, not stop him. Follow the truck, document it, build the pattern. For what? Larson said. The lab already. Not for a lab, I said. For Klein. They both went quiet. Klein knows what the soil does. He knows where it belongs and where it doesn't. He capped the seam. He pointed me at the watcher. I think he's been in this longer than any of us. And if anybody knows how to stop what's happening to that man, it's the one who left a jar of wrong dirt on my seat and told me to pay attention to what survives. Caldwell looked at the house, at the Ford, at the blood on the tailgate. If Klein is what you think he is, she said, then bringing him in means admitting this isn't a crime. It isn't a crime. Then what is it? I thought about Wayne Coulter, sitting in his recliner right now, picking at the dirt under his nails, wondering why he was so tired, why his boots were muddy, why his hands wouldn't come clean. It's an infection, I said, and he's the symptom. She dropped me at my truck on Bray in the late afternoon and sat a moment with the engine running and her hands on the wheel. Dale, the night at the covert, was it real? She wasn't asking because she doubted me. She was asking because she needed to hear it out loud so she could stop carrying it alone. It was real, I said. The deer, the kill, the dragging. And the possum came to me, sat 4 feet from my boots. She stared through the windshield at the fresh gravel hiding the seam. We've got a man who delivers poison in his sleep, she said. A road crew lead who knows things he shouldn't. A possum that inspects construction work. And a lab report that says everything's fine. She almost smiled. This is the worst case I've ever worked. It's the worst case because it isn't a case, I said. It's something older, and it doesn't care about jurisdiction. She looked at me, hard, tired, honest. Then God help us, she said, because the county sure as hell won't. I stood on Bray Road and felt the warm asphalt through my boots and thought about Coulter's hands, about Klein's voice on this same stretch. Pay attention to what stays near the bad ground without getting sick. The watcher had stayed near it for 130 years and never sickened, a creature that stood at the edge and learned the rules. Coulter hadn't stayed near it. He'd been swallowed by it. A man who stepped in without knowing there were rules to learn. The watcher endured. The carrier got used up. And somewhere between those two things, between the creature that survives the wrong ground and the man being eaten by it, There had to be an answer to what it does to a person and how you get it back out. I just had to figure out the question first. That's all for tonight. If this one stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe. There is a new strange tale every week. Sleep well, if you can.